Be creative, innovative, passionate. Be excellent, inspiring, driven. Be faithful, disciplined, prepared. At Union University, you will thrive in a Christ-centered community and be equipped for success in your life and career. Begin your journey today. At Union University, be transformed.
Students of the world, gather round. It's time for the World Student Podcast with our host, Mark and Darren.
And welcome once again to the World Student Podcast. Darren Sutherland, your host, and my co-host, Mark Kopinski. Mark, how are you, my friend?
Hey, buddy, Darren. How are you?
Man, I know you've been busy. I know you've been busy traveling, and I know this show will air in August. We're sitting here on July 16th. The states are reeling, so to speak, with news in regard to international students, enrolling in school this fall. Are they going to be able to do it? Are they not going to be able to do it? And the last ruling I have, Mark, from the 14th of July, and again, folks, you're listening to this in August, so we're talking mid-July here, is the administration changed their mind on what was going to happen. Mark, what do you have to add to all that fun stuff? You'd probably know it a little bit better than I do. You've been lobbying and all that kind of stuff the past week.
Well, I was in D.C. last week when this CVIS guidance came out. Basically, what they were saying was if a university was not going to have on-the-ground courses, or at least a hybrid, meaning some on-the-ground coursework and some online, international students already in the U.S. and under visa would not be able to study in an online format only, meaning unless they transferred to a school that had on-the-ground courses, they'd have to go home. That, of course, created a firestorm, and 3-4 days later they reversed it. So if we're recording this in June, or I guess we're in July now, I don't even know where we are anymore. By August, God only knows what they're going to do. But I think it was a good move to change the guidance. We have somewhere around 100,000 international students still in the U.S. Some are working, some are doing their optional practical training or CPTs this summer, which is another internship program. And other students are studying, online, and they're planning on staying here. So this is a good win for international students and certainly the institutions that host them. And hopefully we can get beyond all that and get the borders back open. Most of the consulates around the world are still not open as of, mid-July. And it takes time for students to get visas and to be able to get here. So I'm worried about the consulates not being open, airlines not flying very frequently, the cost of getting here, lots of stuff that our guest is struggling with in the Middle East right now, because he's working with students that want to come this fall and winter. And if they have no way of getting here, that's going to be a problem for, Sala and for all of us. So
Mark, before we introduce Sala, give the name. So once again, and we do this from time to time, give the name of your firm and your contact in case folks have trouble and maybe you can help them or assist in foreign countries, because you're doing this all the time, 24 hours a day, 7 days a week.
Yeah, so the consulting firm is Global Student Recruitment Advisors, GSRA for short. We're all over social media, but the website is gsra.org.uk, and I can be reached on Twitter at Kopensky33. And I think on these podcasts you have availability of all my other contacts and whatnot, but we're happy to help individual students. And of course, we work with a lot of universities to try to help them navigate all these crazy things, happening at the moment. And we'll be heading down to Washington, D.C. next week to join some of our education lobbyist friends to make sure our voice is heard in D.C.
Great, Mark. Great information. Well, we've spanned the globe, so to speak, many times, and today is no different. And before we start in with our guest, who's all the way over in Kuwait, we want to thank our underwriters, Union University. That's right, Union University in Jackson, Tennessee. Union is a highly ranked college year after year in one of the nation's top Christian colleges. Learn, thrive, succeed. Begin your journey today with Union University. Check them out online. Real easy. uu.edu. It doesn't matter what language you speak, Mark. You can figure out that website, can't you? uu.edu. I mean, come on.
Yeah, they're good people over there.
Well, we've been to Vietnam. We've been to Australia. We've been to Romania. We've been to India. Mark, we've been all over the place. And today we go as probably far away from me and you because I'm in Atlanta, Georgia. You're in New Jersey. And we're going probably as far away from us as we've ever been. And we're going to Kuwait. And I'll let you introduce our guest.
Well, I'm happy to. We have Sama Al-Farhan with us today, who is the CEO of the Creative Vision Group, which is an organization that works with young people, not only in Kuwait, but throughout the Middle East and Northern Africa to help them realize their education dreams abroad, primarily in the US, but also the UK, Canada, Australia, and some other parts of Europe. And I'll let Sama come in here and, do a better job of introducing himself and talking a little bit about the firm and what they do and some of the challenges right now with COVID and helping students get to where they want to be. And then, more generally about what's happening in the Middle East in terms of student mobility. We'll talk a little bit, hopefully, about Americans going to the Middle East and studying as well, because this is not as well-known area to go and spend time and study, but there are a lot of fantastic universities in the Middle East. And I think for our students, especially our American students that are thinking about unique places to go and visit and study, places like Kuwait, Saudi Arabia, the UAE, are all fine examples of outstanding opportunities. So we'll get into that a little bit as well. But without further ado, please say hello to Sama. And Sama, go ahead and introduce yourself and what you guys do.
Yes, hi. First of all, I would like to thank you all for having me today.
Thank you, Sama. Thank you for joining us.
Yeah, actually, Kuwait was one of the first countries in the Arab Gulf region that sensed the importance of education in building modern country. Therefore, the Kuwaiti students like to study abroad in America. So most of the students in Kuwait like to study in America. So we concentrate on guide those students to study in the best universities on the state. So this is the main issue that we do in our company.
Darren, to just give you some stats, because you always like those, just Kuwait, and we can get into the surrounding countries as well, what we like to call the MENA region, Middle East and Northern Africa. Kuwait is sending around 10,000 students to the U.S., and that accounts for almost $500 million in income to U.S. universities. So, this is certainly an important country, and the region as a whole is a couple of $2 billion worth of spending coming into the U.S. So this is a big market, and Sama's firm is moving quite a few students from Kuwait, Saudi Arabia, UAE, Bahrain, other countries in the Middle East to the U.S. Sama, maybe you could talk a little bit about what students are looking for in terms of academic programs and where in the United States, students like to come and study. Give us a picture of what these students are doing and why they're coming here.
Yeah, recently more than 15,000 Kuwaiti students are currently studying in America. This includes students between governmental scholarship and self-funded. And this number, if you see the number, it's equal to the students studying from France or Germany. So, and most of these our students is concentrated on in some of like interested in engineering majors and medical courses, or like oil and gas engineering. So those specialize that most of the students here in Kuwait or in the region here like to go to study there. And if we can talk about which part of the state that they like, probably California. It's come number one. Yeah.
Darren and I like California too. We never
Yeah.
seem to get there. Can we do a show from California, Darren?
Well, it's its own. I think California is going to file and be their own country before it's over with, Mark. So that'd be
You
no
never
problem.
know. You're right.
And maybe number two is Florida.
There you go.
Yeah.
Now you're getting closer to home there, Simon.
Yeah. I've been in Georgia too.
There you
So
go.
I like it.
Yeah, well, Atlanta's a hot spot there. You've got a lot of great universities, including Union in the metro area there. So there's a lot of international students in Atlanta, no doubt.
Right.
Exactly.
Right. Simon, tell us about the high school experience there in Kuwait, and what students, what is public education and private education like there in the region that you're located?
Well, the government schools here in Kuwait it's very good, actually. It's very, very good. And the kind of education that they had, probably better than the private schools.
Wow.
Because of like the government is concentrated on education and health. And this things that that's the most important thing to concentrate on. So and if you can like measure the Kuwait population is 65 of the population of Kuwait are youth. So in the future, I think education in Kuwait will reach a high level. Since 2010, we start the private universities also. This is another step that the government take it, that they open the way for the private universities. So that's why we have lots of American university now here in Kuwait. Like, for example, AUK, American University, or AUM, American Middle East universities, and lots of American system university and higher education, and also high schools, American system high schools. So I think Kuwait, within the coming 20 years, we're going to reach a very high level of education.
Nice. Mark,
Simon, can you tell me, sorry, Darren, to butt in. I'm just curious, who's studying at those institutions, both at the high school and the university level? Are those multinationals? Or are they mostly Kuwaitis? Who's enrolled?
In Kuwait, like 90% of the students are Kuwaiti.
I see.
And 10% are from different nationalities, expats. But mostly 90% are Kuwaiti. The private schools, maybe the expats concentrate on the private schools more because of like some of them, they are not talking Arabic. They prefer that to go to American system or English system or Indian system. So it's matched with their nationality or their the education that they like. But mostly the Kuwaiti like to go to the government schools
And the common language of instruction is English, Sama?
Sorry?
Is the common language of instruction English in these schools?
Yes.
I mean, is that what they're learning in?
Yes, English, yes.
Right. So the universities here in the US and, well, I guess all the major markets, Canada, Australia, UK, they're getting students that are very proficient in English if they're studying, from being little kids all the way up through high school in English. They must be very strong when they get to these universities.
Yeah, I think most of the students they don't have a problem with English, but the problem is most of the students here in Kuwait, they didn't train to study abroad. I think that the missing point here that we do not train the student to study abroad. And this is what we are doing in our company. We are preparing the youth to study abroad. They have they have everything, but they don't have the personality that they can go and study abroad without feeling like the homesick or this kind of things. So in our company, that we try to prepare those youth to study abroad without having any kind of problems.
Right. So you're matching these students and their interests. You had mentioned medicine and engineering, and I guess business is probably in there too, with universities in the US that you're working with, and you're preparing these students for that journey. And then how does it work? So like, for instance, Union University is a great sponsor of the podcast, and they're searching near and far, I guess you'd say, right, Darren, for
Yeah.
international students. How does it work when you're working with the individual university? What do you do to help them market themselves, present themselves in a place like Kuwait, and actually help them get students? What does that look like?
Yeah, actually, from our side, we do a lot of events, educational events in Kuwait and on the region. We have like yearly events like called EduSpot exhibition for higher education.
What is that?
It's an educational fair that we held in March every year for the higher education. This lots of university from all over the world join this fair every year, and we invited all the students from all over the area. We reached like last year in 2019, we reached around 25,000 of students who visit this fair. This year we was intending to do it in March, but what happened, so we couldn't make it this year. But hopefully we will do it next year. Also, we have like school visits. We do a lot of school visits for the university from America, from UK, to visit the schools and to have like open discussion with the students. Also, we attract them for consultant. The students visit us in our company, and we do like a workshop for them. Also, we have like the webinars that we do weekly webinar for the students to have more and more information about the universities in America, and UK, and France, and all over the world. So we are working with the student almost every day to let them reach their goals.
Nice. Let me ask you this. Let's take the Kuwaiti student for just a second, and let's take the whole region. How would you say the Kuwaiti student is prepared versus the Yemen student or the Saudi Arabian student or the Iraqi student or other students in the region that you're located? How does the Kuwaiti student stack up test-wise, score-wise, and preparedness-wise for these American schools?
Yeah. I will tell you one thing. In 1946, the first Kuwaiti student traveled to the United States. Imagine, 1946, we sent students to study in America.
Mm-hmm.
Means it's a lot of years.
Yeah.
For us, we are the first country in the region who sent students to study in America. That make us, we have a good history. The families here in Kuwait, they prepare their children very well to study and to have a degree. If we compare it with other countries, we reached number 16 on US. The number of the students who study in US, we are ranking number 16.
Wow. And
So-
that's against, and Kuwait is not a large, I mean, it's not a large metropolis. It's not a large country compared to
Exactly.
some other countries in the world. I mean, it's not like you're like Russia or China or India even. I mean,
Exactly.
the number of people. So anyway, how are the how is the test scores there for the students coming to the States? Do they rank above average? Or are they average? Where would you say they are in standardizing against the world?
I think our students they reach a very good level because we don't have that much of problems with the students when we send them abroad. We don't have that kind of a problem, and most of the students get a high degrees. So what I saw in Kuwait, we don't have that much of a problem, and mostly the students here in Kuwait, they have a scholarship, a governmental scholarship. So everything is set up for them. Everything is easy for them. So I don't think they have that much of problems. Even if some of the student, he don't have a strong language, the government give him 1 year to study language before he starts his degree. So I don't think they have that much of problems.
Sama, let's explore the government funding piece, because I get this question quite a bit in my work with universities in particular and other organizations that are interested in the Middle East. The Saudi Arabian government, Kuwait, UAE, Bahrain, Qatar, few others in the region have for the last 10 years provided funding, maybe longer in some cases, for students to go abroad, not just to the US, but as you pointed out, the vast majority of students want to come to the US. How does that work? Why are these governments supporting these students to go abroad to get educated? And then what are the students doing afterwards? I'm presuming, and I might be wrong, that they're coming back and working in corporate Kuwait or working for the government or something. Can you take us through that?
Yeah. I agree with you. Kuwait start from 1946 to send a scholarship the student to study abroad. That works very good for Kuwait because most of the students, once they come back, they try to increase everything in Kuwait. That's why we take a large jumps and large steps forward for to be a modern country. The government covered all the expenses for the student, starting from the language courses, then the foundation, then to study and finish his degree. Even if he is an A student and he wants to finish his master degree, the government covered all his expenses.
Wow.
Yeah, the government here in Kuwait, they help the students very well, and I assume that even the salary that they paid for the student is the highest, the second highest in the region. Number one is Qatar, number two is Kuwait. So I think Kuwait do very well when they send students to study abroad, because all these things, all those benefits get back to Kuwait when the students come back and start working in the government or in the private sector. All start to be changed because of this number of students who study abroad, whatever they study, but there is a lot of benefit of sending the student to study abroad.
What are the students? You mentioned earlier in the program, in your opening remarks, a lot of students are coming to study engineering and medicine in particular. But what are some other areas that the Kuwaiti students are looking to get involved in? Kuwait's a very progressive area in that region. So although medicine and engineering are very important, I'm sure there's other aspects and other degrees they're looking for. What are some of those?
Marketing can talk about business, law, but kind of not like engineering and medicine. If you see who graduate from US, 50% of them study engineering. So the other parts, because of there's a lot of university in Kuwait now. We have like 15 universities in Kuwait, and most of them, you can have a degree in law, you can have a degree in business and politics and media, but you cannot find that much of university that can give you a degree in medical things,
Right.
or engineering. So that's why the government concentrate on those majors to have a qualified employee for the government to work in the government.
Gotcha. Mark?
Sam, I'm interested in what I had mentioned when I introduced you earlier in the show about Americans, coming to the region to study and to learn more about the culture. And, of course, I know you worked for the ministry for a number of years as well. So this is very close and dear to what you've done. American students go to Europe. We've had shows on places like Prague, which are very attractive, and of course London and Rome and these kinds of things. But Kuwait City, Riyadh, Dubai, which has become kind of this mega global hotspot that everybody seems to want to visit. Abu Dhabi, their neighbor. I'm curious, what does that journey look like for an American student? How difficult is it for them to get plugged in to either the ministry or to a university out there? And how could they navigate this so that they could go and spend some time studying? And, just an add on to that, is it expensive to do it, or is it fairly reasonable to do that?
Well, studying in Kuwait, I think the American student will like it. They will like it so much because they're gonna find people are very friendly and helpful. To join the university it's not difficult to join the university, except it's a little bit, Kuwait is expensive. I think kind of expensive, Kuwait.
Is it Atlanta expensive or LA expensive or New York City expensive? I mean, give us some comparison.
maybe you can't tell more than New York.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah,
Wow.
yeah.
So
It's a kind of.
it's pretty pricey.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah,
So
you are
Mark,
talking.
the students are better off a lot of times um, in the States going to somewhere like Union University in Jackson, Tennessee, where it's very, very, very competitive price wise. What do you think?
Well, and they have so much to offer there. There's no question. But, even the students at Union University, I mean, a lot of their undergraduates get out and,
Yep.
go for a month or several months to study abroad. And, like I was saying earlier, I mean, it's easy nowadays to go to places like London or Rome or whatever. But I think the real learning is in these places that are not as, frequented. We're going to be talking about Malaysia in the next couple of weeks, and in particular Kuala Lumpur, and going there to study. And I'm just thinking how much more valuable a study abroad experience would be for a
Exactly.
union student or anybody else if they went off the map a little bit. And I imagine like the American University of Kuwait, they have residents, dorms, if you will, there
Yes,
to stay in. And,
exactly.
if you could work out a package, it would be a great way to see something different and then come back much more marketable. Can you imagine sitting and interviewing after you graduate, with companies and saying, hey, look, I didn't go to London to sit in the pubs for 3 months. I was in Kuwait City, or I was in Doha, or I was in Riyadh, and I was really understanding what they're doing in, engineering or business or medicine or what have you. I think that would be really valuable.
If I was a U.S. student, okay, and I'm just looking globally, okay, and I was thinking of going to Kuwait to learn some things in Kuwait and what's going on, okay, I would wonder, especially if I wanted to study something like geology or oil exploration or something like that, I would think maybe Kuwait had a good program in that sort of thing. Do you? Because, I mean, oil is one of your biggest exports there in Kuwait. Does that happen in the university system over there?
Yes, 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 for sure. I just want to tell you something. Like now, from our side and our company, we have a contract with China. China intend to send 1,000 students every year to study in Kuwait.
Wow.
Yeah, they started. We start negotiated from 2017.
Wow.
This is their plan, their future plan. So I think if there's student who want to study from America to study or to visit, it's available, and I
Nice.
think they're gonna have lots of things to talk about.
Shalom, we're up, and I hate to cut you short, but we're up against the clock. We've got about 4 minutes left on the clock before we have to get gone. Thank you, Zoom, for this call. But can you tell folks here in the States or anywhere in the world that's listening to this podcast how to get in touch with you or contact you personally?
Yeah, if they want to catch us, we have our website is creativevisiongroup.com.kuwait, and if they want to email us, our email is info@creativevisiongroup.com.kuwait.
Thank you so much. I don't mean to cut you off, but I didn't want the phones cutting off right in the middle of the podcast and folks saying, what happened to our friend in Kuwait? Where'd he go? So
No, it was nice, and thank you so much for having me today.
thank you, my friend, for being a part of it. And we'll be sure to send you this so you can send it to all your potential students and friends worldwide. Would you do that for us?
For sure, 100%.
Thank you, my friend. Mark, you got anything else?
I think we're good. I think next week is Malaysia, so we'll look ahead to talking to the folks out there.
Thank you once again for listening to the World Student Podcast. I'm your host, Darren Sutherland, my co-host, Mark Kopinski. Listen every week as we travel around the world to interview people in regards to education worldwide. Make sure you touch base with us and have a great day. You're listening to the World Student Podcast.
Thank you for listening to the World Student Podcast. For more information on how you can be a part of this podcast and information on international student recruitment, email us at worldstudentpodcast@gmail.com. And please leave a remark in the remarks section. This podcast was a production of BG Podcast Network. Jonathan Giles, producer. Jacob Sutherland, director.
Be creative, innovative, passionate. Be excellent, inspiring, driven. Be faithful, disciplined, prepared. At Union University, you will thrive in a Christ-centered community and be equipped for success in your life and career. Begin your journey today. At Union University, be transformed.